Hello, and you are listening to the Book Was Better podcast, the podcast where we talk about the book of the film. I'm Luke.
And I'm Hector.
And this week we're talking about Return of Swamp Thing.
Hey you, put down the popcorn and turn on the light. It's gonna be alright, my friend. In the end, take my hand. Trust me, the book was better.
Wow, and that is a little snippet from the Swamp Thing animated series. Very creative theme song there.
No plagiarism whatsoever.
No, we don't normally play any clips of the music or anything on the show worrying about copyright issues, but then I think copyright issues have already been thrown to the wind.
Exactly. Who would they sue?
With that, so yeah. So, I discover, of course, this film is a sequel, and there was an animated series.
And 3 seasons, I think, of a television series?
Yeah, and there was like 72 episodes of a live-action series, so I don't remember any of this, really.
Do I.
And yet,
I definitely don't remember Swamp Thing, the TV series.
in the late 80s, the world was gripped by Swamp Thing fever.
Yeah.
And this is a guy, he's made of plants and vegetable matter. And I gotta say, having watched this film and read the book, I think he should be made out of bananas. Because this whole thing is totally bananas.
Well, amongst his power set would be the possibility that he could compose himself out of bananas.
Well, look, he pokes out a potato at one point. I'm surprised, especially the way that scene was going, that he didn't pop out a banana as well.
Yeah, or a cucumber or a zucchini.
Yeah, read between the lines on that one. A couple of figs hovering underneath it. Some plums, perhaps. Anyway, we're going to certainly get to know the Swamp Thing quite intimately over the course of this episode as we delve into this novelization written by Peter David, a comic writer himself of some note, and a notorious figure on this show, having written novelizations for things such as Batman Forever, Spider-Man 3, Fantastic Four, all of which I believe we've done on here, and especially known for having contempt for the film adaptations and trying to inject as much of the comic stuff
old man
as he can, occasionally pasting in a bit of Wikipedia as well. And one of his trademarks, if you're a regular listener to the show, is that he will, because he has to abide by the script usually, not so much in this one, but because he normally does, he'll often have characters say something and then chide themselves in their private thoughts. Because you are allowed to add private thoughts. My favourite being Chase Meridian in Batman Forever, when she goes, "Hot entrance," and then she thinks, like, did that really come out of my mouth? Did I just say that? What was I thinking?
I hope the screenwriters don't actually ever read his books.
Well, this is the thing. Nobody ever reads these books. So, as we're going to learn soon, Peter David seems to take
That's why it's so hard to find reviews.
Yeah, take a certain pride in this book for his little turd polish that he did, saying, in fact, that the editors were quite pleased with it. But what we've learned about the novelization process is the editors are often interns, which is why these books are full of mistakes. And
that would explain a lot.
Nobody gives a shit, basically. So, yeah. But we'll get to all that.
It doesn't sound like this was a tight ship, because there is a suggestion that, which we'll get to Swamp Thing's voice.
Yes.
There's a suggestion that the voice was changed. It's not actually the actor himself. And that voice was changed unbeknownst to that actor and unbeknownst to the director himself, who saw on opening night that there'd been this change made.
Not a tight ship, but more of a loose shit, I would say.
It's, not a tight ship. It's on the swamps. It's on the bayou. It's probably like a fan boat of some description.
Now, Swamp Thing is a character, DC Comics, and most famously written by Alan Moore. That's the top run. I've never read these. You are far more knowledgeable about this side of it. So I didn't really get much of a sense of the character having watched the film or read the book. So I start to read it with the New 52.
He's pretty much nothing like he is. Well, especially on the Alan Moore one, because obviously Alan Moore is going to be dark and deep and cerebral and all the rest of it.
We'll mention Alan Moore a fair bit. If you are a comics hermit, Alan Moore, of course, who wrote Watchmen most famously, and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and a whole lot of other great stuff. Man. Spooky British man with a big beard. And,
famously feuding with Grant Morrison.
I read started reading the New 52 Swamp Thing, but it just didn't appeal to me.
The Snyder one.
Yeah, it was
very slow.
Very Earth Mother and the Green and everything. And
that all came from Alan Moore's run.
But it just kept going. You
know?
That
was the problem with that New 52 incarnation. Like, it was a story over about 4 friggin' trade paperbacks that could have been told in 2. He really spread it out. And it was also playing out in Animal Man at the same time because it was the interlocking stories.
I was reading both.
And the red.
And when they started to cross over, I was like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah, it was very cinematic in scope.
But, look, give us some background. Tell us about this guy.
Well, Swamp Thing obviously is a DC Comics property.
Which means this is a guy who's probably got Batman's phone number.
Well, he does meet up with Batman, as we'll discuss later on in a famous issue. He's easily confused with Man-Thing from Marvel, who's also green and hangs around in swamps. And an earlier character called the Heap, who was a muck monster from the Golden Age of comics. Swamp Thing was created by Len Wein, who also created Wolverine, and the acclaimed horror comic artist Bernie Wrightson.
You definitely see the Bernie Wrightson look in there.
Yep, he originally appeared in a short story in the horror comic House of Secrets in the 70s, and then he went on to his own ongoing series that lasted 20-odd issues before he was put to sleep. And Wes Craven came along in 82 with the first Swamp Thing film, which apparently was a moderate success.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I watched it again after watching it.
I might do, actually.
It's one of those movies that I remember a lot from my childhood, which could mostly be because of a key scene of nudity in it. It was one of those, transitional films for a young lad.
Sure. Like the young lads that show up in this story a bit later on.
Yeah, pretty much exactly like that.
There's so much foreshadowing. We're the House of Secrets.
True. So Wes Craven made his film. It was popular enough that DC were to go on and revive the character once more. First under the auspices of Martin Pascoe, but subsequently under the creative control of Mr. Beardy Alan Moore. And his work on that series was akin to high art for many an Alan Moore fanboy.
He basically laced the swamp creature with prose, is my feeling. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's, psychedelic stuff. Well, it's a very important run, and we'll discuss more of it later on. We're foreshadowing again. His run introduced Constantine as a character, who was originally based on Sting. It could be argued that these were the first true adult comics, because these were the first comics that broke away from the Comics Code Authority.
Comics aren't for kids anymore. Boom, pal.
No, they weren't. Swamp Thing was no longer Alec Holland under his. It was actually a collection of plant matter that absorbed Alec Holland's memories and consciousness. So he was actually a monster, not a human turned into a monster. So I think he might have done that to differentiate from Marvel's Man-Thing, who was a man turned into a monster.
He had a giant-sized Man-Thing, if I recall.
Maybe.
Yep.
The big red eye. It was also important for its the way it tackled interspecies love and famous drug sex scene, which we will discuss later on as well. With all that in mind, one has to ask why Swamp Thing was actually made into a movie at all. It was the second DC property to be given the screen treatment after Superman was made in 1976. Which is really kind of weird when you think about it, because it's a character who had, at that time, 20 issues of continuity, and then was given their own summer tentpole movie over such classic DC characters as Wonder Woman or Batman.
But that's never been about the comics, is it? Like, the comic people have always been, up until probably recently, really separated from the movie people. Like, for Howard the Duck, all it took was Lucas to be like, I like this comic, I want to make this film. And they would have given the rights to anybody. So
Yeah, well,
that's
the comparison, isn't it?
I mean, just Wes Craven.
It's less weird to think about Swamp Thing being made when Howard the Duck was Marvel's first film.
Because I've always wondered, what was Wes Craven? And I think he was craving a movie about a Swamp Thing.
I think he was craving some experience in film. This is what his third film, I think. And he made it back-to-back with another one of his films.
I feel like it's got almost a sort of Toxic Avenger vibe.
Definitely.
I wonder if, he wanted to do his own version of that.
Well, you haven't seen the first one, have you?
Nah.
No. The first one is more in the horror action stable.
Yeah.
This one definitely has a Toxic Avenger vibe. Although the comedy is far less on the mark.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, don't let me put you off. I think a lot of the comedy in this one is unintentional, per se, and the jokes that are supposed to land probably don't.
I think the big thing, though, is, like, I can't see this being a commercial character anymore. Like, I don't understand the appeal of the character in the sense. I do believe that all superhero stories...
Well, I don't think any of these films actually nailed the character. I don't think they brought... It was just a dude in a costume.
No, but my feeling is that all superhero characters, there's some degree of, like, power fantasy. Like, Superman kind of struggles, except for that, type of person that likes Nightwing more than Batman.
What?
So
what about these people?
I think, like, characters struggle when you don't want to be them. Like Iron Man, you go, yeah, that's cool, I want to do that.
Aspirational.
Yeah, and you go James Bond, or that's cool. Or otherwise, a character's just really awesome. Like, Wolverine's pretty awesome.
Would you want to be the Hulk?
No, not really. But the Hulk's
it's a rage fantasy.
The Hulk's good in an ensemble because he's a cool-looking character. And he goes and does cool stuff. But you don't want to be, like, made out of vegetable matter and living in the swamp. Like, no, that's nobody's fantasy.
He gets some, though.
And even if you think, oh, this is a kind of a cool character, once you take him out of the swamp, it doesn't work. You don't have this guy just walking down New York.
Yeah, but again, it's interesting that you say that, but Alan Moore did all these things.
Yeah, but I don't know, maybe they would, but can you imagine that in, like, a Justice League film or something? There's this big slop of plant matter that's hanging out with them.
And it would stink too, because it's from a fucking swamp. It's not like he's from a nice little pond with lily pads.
No, it's not like he's got a
swamp
fucking
monster.
frog with a banjo sitting on top of his head.
This dude is so dirty, he's growing fucking potatoes out of his back.
He is, and he's not afraid to pass them around.
But as the song says, Swamp Thing, you are amazing.
You are amazing. He makes everything groovy. I think I love him, but I want to know for sure. All right, so this film, 1989, same year as Tim Burton's Batman, of course.
Yes, crazily.
Considered a golf and
quality. I do not remember this film coming out at all.
I remember the poster with Heather Locklear.
Yeah? I might have seen it in a video store, but I don't remember. Well, it never got a cinematic release here, surely.
No, probably not. I just remember seeing it in the video stores. And, I'm pretty keen to get into the book.
No worries.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about any of the pedigree of this film?
Well, we don't normally go through the credits of the film, but if there's something of particular interest.
Well, it was written by the writer of The Adventures of Pluto Nash, which was his last screen credit.
He's brilliant.
And it was co-written by a dude called Grant Morris, who wrote something called The Shrimp on the Barbie, which was a Cheech Marin vehicle about an illegal Mexican in Australia.
Whew.
Yeah, for the last fucking time in America, they're called prawns.
Blood pressure rising.
And the director was Jim Wynorski, who at this point was flushed from his success of reintroducing the world to the now legal talents of Tracy Lords in Not of This Earth. And I found some of his screen credits to be hilarious.
She's got a great torpedo boob.
Tracy Lords.
Yeah, that's a thing that,
That's a thing you look for?
Where was that gone? Like a sort of conical, kind of large, areolaed boob.
I don't know. Well, you haven't seen everybody's boobs.
No, I haven't, but I've got this great book, which is like 100 Years of Playboy, which goes up to about that, like the 90s, whatever. And you've got, I know it was the bras, obviously, But but then I don't know about in Tracy Lord's case. Maybe that's just a natural phenomenon. But in the 60s,
There have been other women who
there's
had
beehives
similar.
and these great torpedo boobs, and then by the 90s, it becomes like horrible leathery.
Well, surgery might have something to
people
do with
with
that,
fake
doesn't it?
boobs and bleached blonde hair. It's the Baywatch look.
But there's fake boobs. Now we're used to seeing fake boobs. If you see a natural boob, you just don't know what to do with your eyes anymore. It just doesn't look right. We've become that natural seems to be abhorrent now.
Not to me. I'm totally the other way around. I think fake stuff just doesn't work. They look good like in clothing, like at the top. But then like when you see them underneath, like they don't hold up. They don't look great.
I thought the whole point was that they do hold up. They defy gravity.
But the underneath always looks... Look, I've photographed a lot of fake boobs. And the underneath, it doesn't work as well.
The title of Luke's autobiography, The Underneath.
The underneath.
Nice. Anyway,
Down in the undercleavage.
I want to read out some of his list of credits.
Okay.
So, alternate?
All right.
Cobra Gator.
Shark and Sass.
I think it's Sharkansas.
Sharkansas.
Dino Croc versus Super Gator.
Piranaconda.
Women's Prison Massacre.
Scared Topless. I like that one.
Busty Cops.
Busty Cops 2.
Busty Cops and the Jewel of Denial.
Busty Cops Go Hawaiian.
Busty Coeds versus Lusty
It's a
Cheerleaders.
fine line. The Hills Have Thighs.
The Devil Wears Nada.
Cleavage Field.
The Breastfed Wives.
House on Hooter Hill.
The Witches of Breastwick.
Alabama Jones and the Busty Crusade.
And the Bear Wench Project.
Oh,
Those are amazing. And that's all on IMDb. I am not making this up with bad porn puns, as I think we've probably done in a few previous episodes.
all right. Well, let's get into this book. Let's see if it all lives up. That's a whole a lot of foreshadowing. Let's see how we go. The beginning. I float, ... peacefully, ... in the womb of the ... Earth Mother, ...
could take a while.
feeling ... nurtured ... in the green. I seem to recall ... another time ... such as this, ... when I hovered ... newly formed within ... a woman's body. But the woman was flesh and blood and tissue, throbbing and hot, not the peaceful, cool nurturing of the Earth Mother. And I was taken from the womb to a world of flesh. I remember what Sarah saying that last episode was excruciating to get through. You got no idea. That's like the new theme of the show.
Excruciation.
Flesh. ...
A
A world I left in a burning symphony of pain. What is with all of these ellipses? Like, is this Swamp Thing or Christopher Walken that is talking here?
I wish I could do a Christopher Walken impersonation. I hid the swamp up my ass.
Or it's a bit Shatner even.
Yeah.
Yeah. Problems.
Sabotage. Yeah, there's a pretty cool credit sequence in the movie where some rocking Creedence tunes are played over the top of panels from the actual more comic run itself. Creates a connection with the source material, which they immediately shatter once the film proper begins.
A lot of things did that back in the day. Like Flash Gordon does that as well.
What shatters the illusion when the movie starts?
Yeah. It says, hey, this is a comic, and then just to remind you, because then it shows things that don't look like a comic
You
at
may
all.
want it to be exactly like this, but it's going to be like this.
All right, so after Swamp Thing's very stilted little prologue there, we have... Prologue? It might have been a prolapse.
Possibly.
You leaving?
Yep. Keys in my hand.
Picked up his car keys. He's out of here. This is chapter 1. We only just started. It's
I
going to be
didn't
a
like the
while.
way Luke was looking at me, so I'm putting my keys between my fists. Just in case.
Chapter 1.
The doorknob came off in his hand. Dr. Bernstein stood there for a moment, glancing left and then right, in an embarrassment to see if anybody had spotted him. The screen door had started to open when he'd pulled it, but when the doorknob had detached itself, the door had swung shut again with a discomforting thwank.
And this book, so far, feels like I'm watching Peter David have a discomforting thwank.
As I might have mentioned before, the first Swamp Thing movie caused me to have many a discomforting thwank.
And
Adrian Barbeau's boobs.
yikes. So Dr. Bernstein, I just saw her in a film in Argo.
Was she in Argo, was she?
Yeah, she plays they have the table read of the fake film, and she's the space Princess,
Oh, wow.
the
Okay.
Queen,
I didn't
the
even
Space
notice that.
Queen. Yeah,
I'm ashamed of myself.
and
How's
that.
she looking these days?
Oh, and it just took me out of that film. I love that film, but at the end, some of the last shots of the children's toys, his son's toys in his room, and this was like 1981 or whatever.
Oh, you're going to say they're the wrong era or something.
No. He's got Star Wars figures, and there's a shot of Star Wars figures, and they're on a stand which has all their names, like Imperial Commander and everything, a spot allocated, and then the Imperial Commander's there, and fucking dumb fuck Affleck has switched the Jawas and the Tusken Raiders. Like there's a big old Tusken Raider.
Well, luckily you'd already been taken out of the film, so that this
standing where
wasn't
the
quite so
well, it did take me
detrimental.
out because I was like,
Took
hang
you out
on.
further.
Well, it makes
You're
me
halfway out the door. And
look.
now
It
you're
makes
all
me
the way down.
realise I was all on board with this. I thought here's a film that pays, it's teaching me things, attention to detail, and I'm like, no, if you didn't bother like googling which was which, then how do I know that you like? I assume you
So
put the.
well, now you must have like reservations about the next Batman movie.
I think the
'cause, I mean,
whole
what the fuck
thing
is he going to
is
do in the
just
next
nonsense.
Batman movie?
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
he going to confuse the Joker with the Riddler?
Probably, yeah. And no one's going to say anything. Didn't nobody? Because it was a pretty popular film. How do you not know what a Jawa? How do you be a man that age and not know what a Jawa is?
He was busy being in movies,
Oh, good.
writing Goodwill Hunting.
Lord.
So basically, Argo thwank yourself is what you're saying to Ben Affleck.
Yeah, he should have been hunting around Goodwill stores for Jawas, and then he might know the difference between a Jawa and a sand person.
Oof, look at those spikes.
All right, so Bernstein, he's arriving at a hotel, clutching his own knob, and we get a whole page of how
Someone else's
sweaty
knob.
he is, and then the hotel clerk arrives, and none of this is in the film, by the way. So in classic Padding style, we get to find out all about the clerk.
The clerk was tall, almost cadaverous. His hair was long and black, coming to well beneath his shoulders, and he sported an equally shaggy beard. His eyes were sunken but extremely alert, with a gleam in them that hinted towards slight dementia. Jesus. "Aren't you hot with all that hair?" said Bernstein, who began to sweat even more just looking at him. The clerk appeared to consider this. "I don't know. I've never been without it, so I've nothing to compare it to. Me name's Alan. You need a room?"
So, yes, Alan Moore is indeed a character in this
Settle
book.
on an accent there.
Not in the film, but because this scene doesn't
Me
exist.
name's Alan, governor. How's
My
your
name's
father?
Alan.
Pip, pip. Off to see a man about a dog. Apples and pears.
You should have given me a call on the dog and bone.
Fondle me twig and berries, mate.
And this is also concrete confirmation that Alan Moore was born
What?
with a full beard. He says he's never been without it.
Oh, really? Okay, now I get it.
Yeah. If he's never been without his beard, then that thing was bristling in the womb. And I think we've just had Swamp Thing talking about being in the womb. Where's our scene?
I read and reread that dozens of times, and I was trying to see where he was covered in after birth. Then he was a baby clerk.
I wanted to know why beardy Alan Moore wasn't sitting in the womb pondering things.
Yeah, true. I read an interview with Peter David where he discussed working on this adaptation, and he agreed to it because he had heard that they were going to attempt to be faithful to the Alan Moore version, which at the time was still running in the comics. And he said that he...
Can I read this?
Yep.
Because this is very important. This sets the tone for everything that comes next. "I couldn't bring myself to risk disappointing the fans. I didn't want to turn out some thoughtless piece of hack work."
It's a very Australian accent.
Which he's never done before, have you, Peter? This isn't a documentary. This isn't like cinema verite. And now we cut to a recreation with an actor playing Peter David. The result,
like a sepia-toned photo.
the
of him.
result was a novel that bears almost no resemblance at all to the film. I restructured the entire story, built in framing sequences, changed the order in which things happened, added entire backstories, put Alan Moore in as a character. Why not? Restored the stilted speech pattern to Swamp Thing, restored the general horror comic feel, and completely changed the endings.
So there you go. Alan Moore is in the book because why not?
And I get the sense there was more to that interview, that Peter David is somewhat,
Oh, yeah, it was like
he's somewhat proud,
24
isn't
pages
he,
long.
of
Yeah.
what he's done here. Like he's achieved something.
He boasted that people would come up to him and say the movie looked like it was a several $1 million, but your book seems like it was $53 million.
Yeah, and, skip the film, but read the book as if he... So I'm thinking, okay...
And the editors let me do this.
Yeah, the intern. Go, I don't know, Mr. David.
I better speak to my boss.
The fucking editor who hadn't seen the movie, because why would you? Anyway, so he seems proud, and look, I'll let you, listener, you decide whether or not he should be proud of this. So, Alan, of course, he rabbits on for a couple of pages, saying things like, I'm just yanking you, mate, and enough to drive you off your nut.
I'm pulling the piss, me old mucker. Dog and bone, trouble and strife.
The thing is, like, when you read interviews with Alan Moore, he is so sharp. He talks like he's writing an essay, and I don't think Peter David was able to really capture that. It was just a little bit of... shine your shoes, Gov.
What was this? Can you get it back up again?
No, I can't.
I'm too far forward in time?
Oh, yeah. Nowhere.
Like a shark?
What? Okay, come on, what?
More!
More!
Yeah, there we go. The slight dementia line. Like,
yeah.
Obviously this is a homage to Alan, and he likes his Swamp Thing. You can tell that throughout the story, but why is he saying he's got slight dementia?
I think he's just, ribbing him. Ribbing him, me old...
I would love it if he had done a Peter David in one of his stories, which no doubt would have ended with Peter David being raped violently to death or something, which is a Alan Moore trope.
Mr. Hyde.
Yep.
So,
God, that
then
scene still disturbs me.
Bernstein, who's actually Jewish-Japanese, his name is Wong Sing Bernstein, goes to meet...
That's an important detail.
Dr. Lana Zarell, and I think, a doctor, is she hot?
She lay stretched out on the bed, wearing the sheerest of pink nightgowns. Her head was propped on her hand, her luminous eyes watching him carefully.
Yes, she is hot stuff.
Well, Lana Zarell is played by yet another one of my pre-teenage fancies in Sarah Douglas, who was Ursa in Superman and Queen Taramis in Conan the Destroyer, and an uncomfortable itch in my pre-adolescent underpants.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope she comes to a convention so you can tell
This is
her
why I avoid conventions.
You are the uncomfortable itch in my pre-adolescent underpants.
I'll put it on the t-shirt.
Please sign here. So, Bernstein's here to tell her that...
I think she would be impressed.
She probably. That Abigail Arcane will be agreeing to meet with her stepfather, who's Dr. Arcane, and who's also Lana's employer. But look, he's not too interested in that. He just basically tries to get his fuck on.
He was across the remainder of the room in a flash, leaping onto the bed on top of her supine body. The mattress creaked noisily under him. He moaned as he felt her hands undoing the top of his slacks and sliding them down.
Just imagine Peter David sitting here
writing this,
getting sexy. I wonder if he puts on sexy music.
Fat little hands.
Just allegedly.
Allegedly fat little hands.
Allegedly fat little hands. But it's all a ruse, basically, to expert his pert Japanese Jewish buttocks.
Is it described as pert?
To a surprise hypodermic needle. So he gets knocked out, and he's going to be genetically spliced with a leech as part of Arcane's weird-ass experiments. He's got the same approach to adding... like David has with adding Alan Moore to the story. Why not? So yeah, already you've really managed to up the quality on this one, Peter David.
It's only now that I actually realise that this unman, one of Arcane's unmen, is a leech. Because that makes a shitload more sense, because I thought it looked like a cuttlefish. And I couldn't work out why a cuttlefish was in the swamp.
Yeah, no. It's definitely a leech. The sort of thing you
really looked like Cthulhu.
See hanging off a standby me's ball sack.
I don't think I've seen that before.
So we cut to Abby's New Wave flower shop, where we meet stunning young blonde Abby Arcane. Now, is she hot?
In her mid-20s, Abby had the kind of figure that made construction workers choke on their whistles.
These were the rape whistles they'd stolen earlier.
This, analogy is so confusing to me. I know that the stereotype is that construction workers catcall and wolf whistle, but I didn't know they carried actual whistles on their persons. Or perhaps these are construction workers in a whistle factory.
And they're constructing a giant whistle.
A huge whistle.
Yeah.
That would make more sense as to why I would choke them. But Abby is played by TV's favourite, Heather Locklear, boasting such diverse credits at this stage as TJ Hooker, Fantasy Island, and Dynasty.
Yeah, this is before she moved into Melrose Place. Yeah.
And she was a proud winner of the Golden Razzie of 1989 for this very film.
Well deserved.
Yes, well deserved indeed.
And apparently she's a hippie and a flake because she talks to plants.
Why can't men be more like plants? Abby said.
I read that and I just thought, Abby, you are about to get the thrill of your life. Let me tell ya.
Yeah, Abby is upset at her stepfather, Arcane, who was the villain in the first film also, because he has never given her a satisfactory explanation for how her mother died or why she wasn't invited to the funeral. Additionally, she has also never met Arcane, her stepfather, so apparently she didn't attend the wedding. But her therapist says that she can never get a boyfriend until she deals with this issue. And Abby tells all of this to the back of a large black woman and all of her beloved plants, and we never see any of them ever again.
Yeah, not that important. It took me a while to realise she was even talking to the plants, because I wasn't paying... I must admit, I didn't give the film my full attention.
How could you?
But Abby decides, yep, that's it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go and see my hermit stepfather, Dr. Arcane, and then we cut to... Think of the swamp as if it is a body. Its lungs provided by the great lush trees and sinewy vines stretching around and through the system. Its heart and mind are deep within the green, the moist loam and dirt, teeming with thousands of microorganisms. Its blood is the water, water filled with life, water thick and cold, yet somehow with an undercurrent of throbbing heat. And that big log over there, that's the swamp cock.
And those two large snapping turtles on either side of it. Swamp balls.
I love how he has to go from doing a scene that is so poorly written and straight from the film, like Abby talking to the plants, and then he tries to really, let's class this joint up a bit as I draw this broad analogy about the swamp being an organism.
Yeah.
So, I had trouble with what these people were. They're five...
Well, the movie just starts
and this is how the movie starts. Yeah, there's 5 invaders that have entered the swamp.
Dudes with guns who are talking about desk jobs.
Yeah, I thought they were hillbillies, and then I thought they were, businessmen who were,
Are they bad guys? Are they good guys?
Yeah, weekend warrior kind of guys. But then it turns out they are...
Treasury agents.
Treasury agents. And they're looking for moonshiners.
As you do.
And their names are...
And they're just walking along in a swamp, which is up to their fucking nips.
Yeah.
They're not on a boat or anything.
Nope.
They're walking along in the dark, in the swamp.
And I don't know if you've ever had a case of swamp nips, but it's not
I've definitely had a case of swamp ass.
So their names are Harry Dugan, Bob Bissett, Morty Totalban, Chuck Veach, and Dave Wrightson.
Oh, how clever, Mr. David. More eggs, more Easter eggs.
Yeah, he does this in his other books.
Easter rabbit.
Names characters after comic creators because they're the coolest people around. I think that's the worst possible thing, right? Because if you're trying to appeal to fans, then why take them out of the story? Why not be true to the story? Why put up something where you're basically going, look at me, I'm clever? Why do you want to be thinking about these comic creators when you should be thinking about these weekend warriors out there in the muck with their swamp nips? So, Bob Bissett, Steve Bissett.
Easter eggs are always rewards.
Morty Totalburn, John Totalburn, Chuck Veach, Rick Veach, Dave Wrightson, Bernie Wrightson. I don't know who Dugan is.
Let's just go John.
Okay, John. Steve.
Arnold.
It's time to get out of the office and into the field, said Harry. You know there's a still somewhere in Suicide Swamp we've never been able to find. 2 hick morons, Clyde and Gerdell, run it. Love to nail their asses. So it's a dirty weekend. Yeah, squeal like a pig.
This is such a rapey fucking movie.
Yeah. Didn't know. I've talked a lot about America's obsession with asses, and these guys, they want to get in and nail some asses. Right up in those asses.
Nail them with a machine gun.
So, they're being tracked by something, and the unseen Swamp Thing ponders all this, and he's a very distinct style. There is... ... something in the swamp. ... something human. ... followed by something... ... inhuman. ... The inhuman... ... has thoughts and emotions... ... laid bare and evil... ... it will kill the humans... ... but that is of... ... no concern to me... ... the bodies of the humans... ... will merely serve... ... to feed the swamp... ... and I am... ... the swamp... ... so why... ... should it matter? Whew, Woo, if he really talked like this, it would be a 4-hour film.
Yeah, remember in David's mind, he is restoring the stilted speech pattern to Swamp Thing, as opposed to the rather avuncular manner in which Dick Durock, who plays the Swamp Thing, spoke.
At least he kept it brief. So, the intruders are by the old arcane place, and their attacker is the hybrid leech, hybrid Jewish-Japanese guy that we were promised before.
Mouth! In the name of God, what mouth? What the hell was it? It had put on Morty's clothes and it didn't have arms. Instead, it had huge, misshapen appendages. Its head was a monstrosity sculpted from a child's deepest nightmares and brought to life.
It also looks like it was sculpted by said
It
child.
looks like it was excreted by said child. It is covered in gack.
I always thought it was just like this dude who had his head like fucked with. But I like the idea that Peter David goes, no, it wouldn't be wearing clothes, so it must have stopped and put on Morty's clothes.
So it's just killed some guy and then put his clothes on.
Bear in mind, his head is about 10 times bigger than a normal head.
It's a button shirt. So
yeah. All right, he managed. I don't know how he saw to do up those buttons.
Oh, he's got misshapen appendages. He doesn't have arms.
Yeah, and he doesn't have fingers or anything.
Hands.
But, yeah, he did it. He had a fair whack at it.
Good job.
Didn't he?
We should be praising this guy.
The swamp. Suicide Swamp, Nature's dressing room. So, the leech thing lives up to its name and totally sucks the blood out of most of the guys. And Harry escapes, but he's lost his glasses, so he can't see who saves him. And we cut to then 3.5 pages of a constantly pausing Swamp Thing's internal monologue as he ponders the womb.
Thankfully, you were sparing us, Rob.
And the Earth Mother and the womb.
Which, to be fair, sounds very Alan Moore-ish.
So, Swamp Thing forms, he pulls all the muck up and he becomes a human or form, and he beats the shit out of the leech for about 4 pages, which isn't nearly as exciting as you might think.
In the comics, Swamp Thing has the following powers. He has superhuman strength, he can inhabit and animate vegetable matter anywhere, construct it as a body for himself, he can regrow damaged or severed body parts, he can transport himself across the globe by dropping his current form and popping up in another plant somewhere. He has the ability to control any form of plant life, he can bend it to his will, he can accelerate its growth, there's the green element. He's an elemental, there's a parliament of trees, yada yada yada. So of course in the movies and his book he just wanders around and beats the shit out of things.
Yeah, he's wearing a rubbery green suit. He looks like
it's very inventive.
Like a world wrestling gimmick character.
But it's like friggin' Godzilla or something. It's men in rubber suits.
Elbow drops people.
Yeah.
Does one of the characters, is it Man-Thing that has like a penance kind of stare thing? Like
those who know
Ghost
fear
Rider?
burn at the touch of Man-Thing. So if you're afraid, you start burning. Mm-hmm. Which is always weird because like innocent people would be afraid.
Yeah.
It always struck me as kind of weird. Like he's not like those who are evil burn at the touch of Man-Thing. It's like those who know fear, which would just basically be normal people. You would think someone who was an evil convict or something probably would be less fearful than an innocent bystander.
Should start a gym. Feel the burn, he would yell.
Fear gym.
But I've been afraid of losing weight. Well, feel the burn.
I'm afraid of physical exercise.
All right, so Harry gets to confront the Swamp Man for the first time, and Harry asks what he is.
Each word was an effort, each syllable a challenge, but he spoke just the same. The swamp, he said.
The swamp? Harry repeated in confusion. The swamp isn't alive. It's just a... ... a thing.
He does not ... understand. He would never say that. ... If he did understand. ... Or ever could. ... But I will put it ... in a way he may yet... You missed an ellipses chest there. Understand. ... And he spoke one more time to Harry Duggan in his sepulchral?
Yeah.
Now let's pronounce the word. Voice. Yes. Dot, dot, dot.
Dot, dot, dot.
A thing.
Dot, dot, dot.
And I am
Dot, dot, dot.
the Swamp Thing.
Compared to the film where he's all like, "Greetings, my good man. They call me the Swamp Thing. Yabba dabba doo."
His voice is amazing. According to IMDb, that's not actually Dick DeRock doing the used car salesman voice for Swampy. It's an overdub from a mysterious unknown actor that was inserted without even the director's knowledge, as I said before. But from the sound of it, it's someone who does VO work for like radio commercials. It's incredibly jarring.
I thought
Especially
this was
being romantic later on.
I thought this was interesting too.
Hey, baby, would you like to see my zucchini? Dot, dot, dot.
This was 89, and the original script for the Batman movie has a scene which I feel is almost like completely the same structure as this, because this guy basically says, "What are you?" And he says, "The swamp," and he goes, "The swamp. The swamp isn't alive. It's just a thing." And he goes, "Yes, a thing. I am the Swamp Thing." And in the Batman 89, when he puts that mugger over the thing, he goes, "Who are you?" And he says something about like, "I'm the night." Oh, he says, "You don't own the night," and he goes, "I am the night." Stuff like that. Yeah, I thought it was very similar.
It's the same
very
producer.
similar.
Like the dude that is it Michael Aslan?
Don't know.
He owned.
Aslan.
That's Aslan.
Was it Aslan?
No, it wasn't Aslan.
Oh, I wish
But
it
the
was
same
Aslan.
dude bought the rights for Swamp Thing and Batman. And he made Swamp Thing first, obviously, but he made all his money, obviously, off of Batman later on.
No, I want Turkish Delight. Then another unnecessary scene of Alan Moore, who is the worst hotel clerk in the world because he seems to think his job is telling people that they should leave this awful place. It's not good for business. And this time he's talking to Abigail Arcane, and Peter decides that perhaps he's been a little bit too subtle in the past, and that maybe people will not think he's clever enough. So he spells it out so we can all jerk off at his cleverness. They have swamps in England?
Boggy areas, actually. That's where I hail from. The Moor. I've changed my accent again.
Well then, she stopped, realising she didn't know his name.
Alan.
He supplied helpfully. Well then, Alan of the Moor. See, that should be grounds to just end the episode right here. I felt like I shouldn't have to read the book anymore.
Yeah, I'm very surprised Peter David didn't give any more cryptic clues, like Alan paused from writing the latest issue of Swamp Thing to offer some pithy remark about forested wetlands. Yeah.
So, in a lab under the Arcane Mansion, Alana Zarel, the sexy doctor, she sciences and computers, and we meet Arcane finally. Got to ask, is he hot?
Arcane waited with studied patience, arms folded across his crisp white shirt. His straight black hair was tinged grey, his square-jawed face appearing carved from harsh granite.
Seems hot enough.
He also appears remarkably unscathed from turning into a gigantic swamp rat with a sword and long, flowing ginger locks, and then being dissolved into some sort of primordial yellow slime in the first film.
I do have to watch this.
Yeah, I guess he got better. There's some half-hearted attempts at an explanation. Like, there was a formula that left his body unstable, gene stuff, ? But I was honestly already beyond giving a shit in this movie.
I wasn't interested in the plot.
And he is also still painfully French.
Same actor?
Yeah, same actor.
Okay.
Louis Jourdan, or whatever his name is.
So they're making
He was
monsters.
in Octopussy.
And Peter David he should have made an octopussy down in his lab.
He probably should have. I'm quite surprised. That was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, David can't help but editorialise. So even he's starting to lose his patience at this point. Arcane and Zarel walked over towards the Patients, a bizarre collection of half-man, half-animal creatures penned in cages. Insanely, they all wore cheerful blue hospital gowns. How does the proverb go? People in insane houses shouldn't throw their own shit? This is the guy that thinks the leech man stopped to get change behind a tree.
How about people in straitjackets can't throw their shit?
That's true.
So yeah, the Treasury agents who were not Harry, and not the ones that were already Morty, I guess, who was already sucked off by the leech man.
Yeah.
They've ended up here in Arcane's lab and are being turned into unmen, i.e. they are being gene-spliced with, among other things, leeches, cockroaches, and chimps. Oh my!
But we do also meet the most hideous creature of all, security head Johnny Gunn.
Even by Arcane standards, Johnny Gunn which was probably not his real name, was distasteful. Over his jumpsuit, he wore a black leather jacket, and the suit itself was unzipped down to the navel, displaying what he undoubtedly fancied to be a manly expanse of chest hair. His unwashed black hair hung down to the back of his neck. His face was round and harsh. His black Van Dyke beard, ill-kempt and untrimmed. From one ear dangled an axe-shaped earring.
He's foul. If they remade this, he'd be played by Danny McBride.
Yeah, probably. There's a bit of a Captain Jack Sparrow-esque quality to it, I think. But Peter David had to have seen the film before writing this, because that description is near fucking perfect.
Probably just got his head shot.
This guy is the worst. But yeah, we also forgot the henchwoman, Miss Poinsetta, who was played by adult actress Monique Gabriel. But that's okay, because the movie seems to forget about her also.
Yeah, it didn't really become that important. But
No, I don't even remember whether she met her demise or what happened.
Don't remember. But a hillbilly sheriff investigates the mansion, and when he hears Zarell is an expert in human genes, he says he'd like to get inside her jeans.
Inside her jeans?
Like a denim jeans where she keeps her vagina and her keys, probably. Some change.
Was he a sheriff, or was he a half-pig genetic experiment that they were training to think it was people? He was terrible.
He was tottering around on his hind legs. Thought that was quite an
He was
achievement.
doing a really bad Struther Martin impersonation too.
So, yeah, trying to figure out the plan. Arcane wants Abigail because she has the same genetic code as her late mother, and he wants to do some experiment or some shit, like wants to get her blood to save himself.
But he needs her genetic material for his own immortality, apparently, because bringing him back to life from when he was that swamp rat thing has left him unstable or some shit. But I honestly don't know why the mother is suddenly relevant.
And Arcane's, so he's dying, he needs formula, and he's also linked to the creation of Swamp Thing, who used to be a man called Alec Holland.
Come on, man, that's the first film. So
Yeah.
his muddling in the first film resulted in Leland Palmer from Twin Peaks, i.e. Ray Wise, setting himself on fire and turning into a completely different actor in a rubber suit. And the formula is what Ray Wise spilled on himself before becoming Swampy. It was supposed to make aggressive plants, but it's apparently alarmingly multi-purpose. So Arcane drank it and turned into the aforementioned Swampy Rat thing, and then got better. So here we are.
So Abigail tours the mansion, and Peter David employs his old trick of characters internally fighting the script.
"It's very pretty," said Abby. And then she turned and directed her next remark at Lana. "Like everything my stepfather owns." Now, why did I say that? She wondered. "That's really catty. I'm not like that. It's like this place brings out the worst in me."
Yeah, cool it, Abby. This isn't cat thing.
Chances are there's one of those down in the lab.
Probably. With the octopussy. Look, this is all quite bland, and then suddenly Peter David bursts out with...
"Lightning danced an electric pirouette of death across the night sky."
It's like he's polishing a turd with another turd.
Turd on turd action. Swamp Thing 2, Electric Boogapoo.
And Peter's so bored, he adds this huge multi-page Abby nightmare sequence, which includes gems like this. She entered the room, which was illuminated by the lightning. The only thing in it was a bed, and in the bed were Arcane and Lana, bodies entwined. They didn't even notice her as she screamed, thrusting her mother's head in front of her, water dripping from it. "You were married to her! You said you loved her! You have to help her!" Arcane's rhythmic movements atop Lana began to slow. He didn't just stop.
No, it didn't stop. It didn't pull out.
You had to
Just
watch
slowed.
him just like wind down. And he turned his reptilian gaze on Abby. Awkward.
She's holding her mother's severed head.
While watching her
Did
stepdad
she just
fuck.
Did she just behead her own mother to make a point about fidelity?
I think so.
Look, this is the woman you're married to. We're married to.
And then Swamp Thing appears in the dream and...
You
Dot, dot, dot.
are not afraid
Dot, dot, dot.
of me?
Slowly, she shook her head as she pressed her naked body against his. "I love you," she whispered. "How couldn't I love you? I've been looking for you all my life." She felt vines beginning to surround her.
Hot.
And when she woke up, her pants were a swamp.
She better watch out. Swamp Thing might give her a case of the crawdads.
I think I saw a regator. But here are the true stars of the movie. Now, this was refreshing when this happened. Omar Brown and Daryl,
You gotta let me do his voice.
the fat little ginger, two kids, sort of like a huckleberry fin-like existence in the swamp.
And the N-word Jim.
Yeah, and Daryl, well, he talks a bit like this.
Well, ain't you gonna let me in?
Said Daryl, for such was the name of the young man who was outside. Looks kind of wet out there, observed Omar.
You're damn straight it is. Now open the stupid door and let me in.
Now, look,
I just destroyed my voice.
I don't say this lightly, but I'm pretty sure when watching this, when I see this fat little redhead child that talks like a munchkin, who's been
God,
like
he should have been the lollipop guild.
boozing and smoking, I think, what a little stinker. This kid is a total little stinker.
He is the epitome of stinkers. If Jeremy from Superman 4 was a stinker, then Daryl is on a whole different level of stinkiness. He is like the mer-captain of stinkers, which are like the smelliest substances on Earth and coincidentally found in swamp water.
He's the king of the stinkers.
The most surprising thing about these two is that these two stinkers went on to have a reasonably steady career in the industry, which you can IMDb if you don't believe me. They both have been working.
And they are here. He wants to get into this house so urgently to look at porn.
Whoop, you go.
It was a truly impressive assortment. Every issue in the past 12 months of every smutty, sleazy, girly magazine obtainable in LaCroix, Louisiana was scattered on the floor. For once obeying his friend to the letter, Daryl promptly dropped to his knees and dug in.
Pig at a trough.
Dug into those paper pussies. He was all cut up on
He's holding one of them like that. Look at these babes! It's so off-putting.
his face was all cut up on staples.
Oh, there was drool down his chin.
Yeah.
Ah, the good old pre-internet days when you would have to get your porn fix from your friend with the absent and neglectful parents, and he insisted on remaining in the room with you while you read through his stack of magazines. I can't be alone in having experienced this.
No, but they get cock-blocked by the leech man. I thought he was dead, but he just turns up at the house, obviously lured by the sounds of furious masturbation.
Apparently leeches are attracted to heat, so you could be onto something.
The sirens call.
All that rubbing on the magazine is creating like this friction, and he can just taste it on the air. Little fat ginger. And he's a very polite leech monster because he makes sure to knock on the front fucking door. Which leads to the strange situation of Omar panicking because he thinks his parents are returning. Like, do his parents not have a key to their own front door?
And Daryl's like he's in a frenzy. He's
Oh no!
he's having a ginger minge binge.
That's right. He doesn't want to lose the magazines.
But look, luckily, the Swamp Thing, the titular Swamp Thing, returns to save them. And those stinkers, they don't stop wisecracking. Omar looked from the Swamp Thing to the leech and back again. Hey man, it's Monster Central around here. Saying that mostly because he thought it sounded good as famous last words. But Daryl, who was not at all ready to utter his final syllables, said,
Crap! I don't want to die! I just reached puberty! I think.
Either that or he's got a handful of aioli.
It's America, man. That's more likely a handful of fluffernutter, which has to be my favourite food name of all time.
Fluffernutter.
I'm sure the Americans understand what I'm talking about. But seriously though, he just reached puberty. Is Peter David saying what we think he's saying?
I think so.
It's like that fucking bathroom sequence in Robert Cormier's The Chocolate War, but in a swamp. He was finally a man.
So, the leech fight lasts about 8 pages, is no more exciting than the other leech fight, and it ends in an explosion where the leech burns up and the stinkers give the thumbs up and say it is awesome.
And Swampy thumbs right back at them, which you're looking at a picture of.
Yeah, you guys can't see this, but...
You have to say, the costume in the second one was far more impressive than the first one, which actually you can't say because you haven't seen it.
No, so you're right, I cannot say that.
The first one was basically just looked like a rubber suit.
Well, look, now we're talking about photos, that's quite apt, because we've hit the photo section, and on the back cover, it promises
just like
us
Daryl and Omar.
hair-raising photos. And they're
Luke has
actually
spread the photos out on the floor and we are diving into
Look at
them
these
like it's a
hot
trough.
vines. Look at that sea combo.
What a babe!
And these are black and white photos printed on just the normal paper, the same paper as the text. Yeah, I can't tell if I'm looking at Swamp Thing, Bigfoot, Mr. Snuffleupagus. It's like a Rorschach test.
Oh, nice Alan Moore reference there, Mr. David.
So, Arcane figures that Holland, aka Swamp Thing, is back. So he sends out Gunn and the troops to find him. And Swamp Thing muses about nothing again, very slowly.
There are humans
...
scurrying about like ants this day. ... I wonder what they want. ... But it is of no concern.
Then stop fucking talking about it, Swamp
It's
Thing.
the most useless 2 sentences of all time.
The Swamp Thing doth protest too much. He's always talking about, oh, I don't care about the humans, but he cares. He keeps going and saving them.
I know.
I was getting really bored at this stage, but then this sort of woke me up. Out by the front gate, Points and Conklin were playing a bizarre form of Mumblety Peg.
They had different names earlier on, didn't they? This is the 2 Moonshiner Hillbillies.
No, this is like Poinsettia, and these are the other guards.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have never played Mumblety Peg.
I get you now.
I'm very curious as to what it is. I assume that I didn't Google it. I just like the sound of it. I thought maybe you peg someone in the mouth and they mumble at you.
That's not normally where you peg somebody, is it? Now it's a woman. It does make more sense. It's poinsettia. But yeah, it's an old game. It was mentioned in Tom Sawyer. Apparently, you throw a knife at your foot, and the one who gets closest to their own foot wins, and then the loser has to extract it with their teeth. For fun.
Yeah.
I went to the Rose Hotel in Fremantle about 20 years ago, and there was a couple of fucking tradies there, and they were playing it with darts. And they were trying to rope me and my mate into the game, and we were fucking terrified.
Yeah. Well, if anyone's got Mumblety Peg stories, let us know, and maybe we can have an FP Mumblety
Peg off
challenge. Send your video. Send a Vine while we're talking about the swamp. So
the vines surrounding Abby.
Yes. Abby leaves the mansion and she enters the swamp where she finds 2 rapey hillbillies. These are the moonshine guys.
Yep, I'm with you now.
And they pause from making moonshine to discuss whether they should steal a car or kill a dog. And then
they gaped at her in open astonishment.
That's just rude.
The timing alone was enough to affirm belief in a supreme being. Provided you believed in a supreme being who would give a gorgeous woman, ... any woman, ... to utter two utter scuzzballs as a plaything, Clyde and Gurdale chose to believe.
Yeah.
And I think this is where Heather Locklear absolutely sealed her Razzie win, because there is not a single notion or emotion of worry or concern to her performance as these 2 also terrible at acting hillbillies talk about their desire to rape her.
She kind of just jokes with them.
Yeah. Like it's all like a big fucking laugh.
And they start touching her until
a massive creature was standing there, with burning red eyes and a body covered with moss and muck.
Damn! This guy's dirtier than you, Clyde, said Girdle in shock. Yeah. Dirty birdie. And I think it's ironic that Peter David thinks he's improved Swamp Thing's dialogue, but he still says stuff like,
this is ... the corpse of a tree ... and I will use it ... to make human corpses ... if I must.
If I must. Like, he's been asked to clean his room or something.
If I must.
Oh, swamp mother.
Swamp Thing, kill these rapists. Oh, if I must.
Oh, and then the hillbilly rapists actually run to the hotel to chat to Alan Moore, who calls them sinister ducks.
Sinister ducks.
Yeah.
What? That seriously is what happens? Is there more to this? Like, does he attempt to remonstrate with them in any way? Given his back catalogue, I would imagine it is more a meeting of kindred spirits, because there's so much rape in Alan Moore comics. But,
yeah,
what happens?
No, I can't remember. They just have a chat.
Chat about rape.
Yeah.
Compare notes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rape in this movie as well. It's very Alan Moore in that regard. Gunn tries to get it on with Abby at some point in the movie. I'm not sure if it happens in the book because the timelines are so screwed up and different. But Gunn's like, come on, baby, it's time to play doctor. And Abby's like, bet you can't guess my favorite operation. And Gunn's like, what's that, baby? And she's like, a vasectomy, and then she knees him in the nuts. It's classic.
Speaking of Abby, she's taken Swamp Thing's appearance really in stride. Like, this is the first time she's encountered him, and she's not worried at all.
Yes. ...
Oh, that's
yeah,
that's Swamp Thing.
That was Swamp Thing. Yes. ... He said slowly, there is a place. Walk this way.
Abby put an imaginary cigar to her mouth and, doing a poor Groucho Marx impression, said, if I could walk that way, I wouldn't need the talcum powder.
That is a poor Groucho Marx
Ooh,
if I could walk that way, I wouldn't need the talcum powder.
Now can we end this episode?
Yeah, I fucking hate this, Abby.
I feel like that's grounds. And a side note, not a side boob, Arcane is deteriorating during all this faffing around, so he decides to use Lana's blood to help him. So she overhears this plan and is sad enough basically to spur her into a last-minute betrayal.
How very convenient that the two people with the genetic material that he so desperately needs should be two people that he already knows, and one he works and sleeps with already. Why buy the cow when you can get the genes for free?
Very, very true. Harvest that shit. Anyway, back in Swamp Thing's bachelor pad, he's hitting on Abby as best he can.
Humans are by definition half beings.
He said slowly. No shit.
The man and the woman are each a part of the whole, yet eternally separate and alone. That is why physical intimacy is so important to you. It is only during that time that a man and a woman are once again merged into the single entity they are meant to be.
He held up an orchid.
A flower is complete. It has the stamen and the pistil, male and female organs. Together.
Jesus, Swamp Thing. Take a cold shower.
Dear Penthouse. ...
I never thought it would. ... Happen to me. Me.
The best Penthouse letter ever. Yeah. That's just it, because that's taken the entire lot of space.
I'd love Swamp Thing to write into Penthouse.
In the movie, Abby has basically decided Swampy is her boyfriend now. She's all like, is there a Mr. Swamp Thing? And he's like, no, I'm a bachelor. And then later he's like, me, your boyfriend? Why not? You said it yourself. I'm a plant. That's okay. I'm a vegetarian.
I'd like to see Beverly Switzer from Howard the Duck hanging out with Abby Arcane. Talking about their sex lives.
And plant dicks.
Yeah.
I'm
having sex with a plant. I'm fucking a duck.
Whack, whack. And whatever noises plants make. But she's got a big old zucchini on her mind, old Abby.
Yeah, look, he's so hot for teacher right now. I'm hoping the book ends with him fapping to girly mags with the kids.
Yeah, having a thwank.
But whatever he's doing, it's working because she tried to find his mouth somewhere in the darkness of the lower part of his face. And when she did, she closed her eyes, pictured Tom Selleck in her mind, and kissed him.
Tom Selleck has darkness to the lower part of his face.
Tom Selleck has that. Like, he does look like he's got a big memorial, that old Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
It was extremely tentative, the merest brushing of lips. And when they parted, she giggled slightly. Tastes like lime, she said.
That's pretty much a verbatim quote from the first time Abby and Swampy get it on in the comics. Of course, they have a much deeper history than a meet cute at an attempted rape and a hot chick with a plant fetish. Indeed, the following scene, where they get a little bit deeper on, is one of the only things that this movie seems to have taken from Alan Moore's run on the comics, which is the love that should not be.
He probably wasn't thinking of it being performed by Heather Locklear.
No. So as David said,
the only resemblance to Moore's Swampy was a reenactment of the tuba eating sequence, undoubtedly the single most difficult moment in all of Moore's run to try and pull off on screen, unless you have the entire audience on hallucinogenics before the film.
It's also interesting that she's
limited imagination, Peter David.
Yeah. You can't do that. You can't have a plant fucking a woman on screen. I'm pretty sure I've seen that, Peter David.
I've seen Evil Dead.
I could give you the Pornhub address. It's also interesting, that she's totally the instigator here. And she still has to think about Tom Selleck. It's like, is she that fucking desperate?
Would you... Look, turn it around. Would you sleep with the plant? When I watched Little Shop of Horrors and I saw Audrey's lips, I was like, whoa. Reminded me of Janice from the Muppets, only bigger.
Fuck me, Seymour!
Fuck me.
Yeah, okay,
I want your seed.
Let's move on.
Okay, yes. Then a potato comes out of his chest, and she eats the potato and totally trips balls.
She peeled off her clothes to see the colours shimmering all over her body.
And her trip lasts a few pages. He turns into a man.
A naked man.
And she turns into a plant. And then they root. Their lips joined, and his fingers entangled themselves in the sleek vines
Sam
of
Worthington.
her body as she tenderly stroked the firm flesh of his. She lay back on a bed of moss, and he was atop her, their spirits as one as their bodies moments later following suit. Colour and heat poured from his skin, from her blades, and for the first time in her life, she was alive!
So this scene between Abby and Swampy was like a pretty big deal in the comics, which I guess is why they're trying to capture it in the films. Like Swamp Thing, as I had said, was the first mainstream comic to abandon the Comics Code Authority and start making comics directly aimed at adults. And in doing so, it gave people with Arrested Development, like you and I, added justification to never grow up. Comics are for adults now, and we call them graphic novels, Luke.
Well, look, considering the pedigree, the films that this filmmaker had made, I'm not surprised that this was the one scene he was interested in.
But isn't it interesting that there actually is no nudity in this movie, though, is there?
No.
Which, I guess is disappointing.
Where are all the blossoms we were promised? The buds.
Those darling buds.
The open flowers.
Those orchids. I don't know.
The stamens.
The stamens and the pistils. I've lost the thread. But anyway, because I love making these these episodes of ours go on and on.
Yeah, because you have to put it up in about an hour.
I wanted to describe the scene as it played out in the comics. So, yeah, Swamp Thing exudes a tuber, yam, or potato from his chest, and to Abby, the swamp appears to be all on fire, millions of birthday candles. And Swamp Thing says, "You ate the fruit, Abby. You absorbed a little of my consciousness. ... my perceptions." ... And then the panels rotate, so the page has to be held sideways to read, and it leads into this sequence of double-page landscape spreads with an extended prose poem by old Alan of the Moor himself.
Comics are not for kids anymore. They would freak out if they saw this.
So just compare this prose to Peter David's prose.
Okay.
Below the water, the sudden cold frottage of fish skin, slick and silver against my instep. It twists, flickers, disappears. The bubbles rise, the thread lights, a blazing cat's cradle inside me, inside him. In him I ride the amber sap oozing through miniature labyrinths. Clusters of insect eggs burn like nebulae, suspended in their unique and vine-wrought cosmos. Through him I sprawl with the swamp, sopping, steaming dragonflies, stitching neon threads through the damp air surrounding him. Beyond him I wrestle the planet, sunk in loam to my elbows as it arches beneath me, tumbling endlessly through endless ink, and she straddles the planet like a space hopper in the pictures. The bark encrusts my flanks, the moss climbs my spine to embrace my shoulders. We are one creature, and all that there is in us.
I feel like you've just performed a ceremony to summon a Neil Gaiman.
I can see your erection. Then there's a gross ending with Abby and Swamp Thing's mouths gaping from each side of the page at the fruit that came out of Swampy's body. And that's right, he's eating something his own body produces, like the way you used to eat your little sibling used to eat their own boogers. Underground, buried claws wound the soil, savage furrows fill with moisture, a fish twists, the bubbles rise, the world pulses and shudders, with life and death, with tide and magma, with me, with him, ellipses.
A furrow filled with moisture?
Yeah, basically. And Abby fixes the strap on her tank top, looks at Swamp Thing and asks, Does this mean we're going out?
And here's some pictures.
And then there's mouth-on-mouth action. It's pretty hot stuff. And to paraphrase Daryl, comics just reached puberty.
Sounded very sexy until I look at this double-page spread.
I told you it was like a space hopper.
Yeah. And,
she's bouncing on that world.
Yeah. So, then there's a whole...
I'm not sure if Peter David quite captured...
Maybe. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
But what about the side plot as the two little stinkers called Daryl and Omar want to take a photo of Swamp Thing to sell to the newspaper for, I quote, $1 skillion. And here's our first mention of fine American foods. Give me one of them ho-hos before you eat them all, said Omar impatiently.
Out of ho-hos,
said Daryl with satisfaction, popping the last one into his mouth. Omar sighed. What about Twinkies? Daryl stared into the backpack.
Nope.
Snowballs?
Nope.
Ding-dongs?
Nope.
Putty pudding pies?
Putty pudding pies?
Putty pudding pie?
Nope.
God, I think they are all of the 5 food groups.
Yeah, with a diet like that, no wonder he's such a little stinker. That kid needs more fibre. And on a related note, Omar is pretty fucking jacked for a kid. He looks like he's about 13 going on 35. That jack need tattoos, don't they, Luke?
Look, my tattoos are fucking great. Just shut up.
He's showing them. He's flexing.
Oh
God, I can't even fit in the room
They're
anymore.
Beautiful pieces of art. I don't want to scare everyone by making a Jubilee bulge in all the wrong places. Anyway, so everything begins to converge. The kids run into Swamp Thing, who attacks some of Arcane's men and then poses for a photo. And then there's the obligatory airboat swamp chase bullshit. Yes.
Y'all hear siren?
Swampy survives being mulched by the propeller, but then is seemingly killed by a flamethrower. And Abby is recaptured, and they plan to experiment on her. But Swamp Thing shows up, he beats the shit out of everyone, the lab explodes, and he takes on Arcane, who finally disintegrates.
Arcane shrieked in frustration, and the Swamp Thing's last view of him before turning away was of Arcane's nose falling off.
Yeah, how's he going to keep up his sunglasses now?
So, yeah, no, we can skip all that crap.
Okay. Well, this is where it differs, doesn't it? Because the film and the movie, the book...
Well, we're splitting it up.
Really changed. So
Abby was at the compound twice in the movie, but she only seems to have been at the compound once in this one.
Unless I just skipped it. I don't know. But
who knows anymore?
I was ready to just basically I was at that stage of the book where I was about to write, and then Swamp Thing wins the end. But this is where he started to change it because he said he reworked the ending. So Abby's injured and dying, and Swamp Thing goes bonkers.
Alec Holland left his body with such force that it blew apart. Thorns flew everywhere, ripping through clothes and tearing skin off the guards. Only Abby, lying there like a fairy tale princess, remained unscathed by the barrage.
And Arcane, it turns out, is still alive. I thought he was done with.
Down in the lab, Arcane endeavoured to reattach his nose. Ultimately, he decided he was better off without it.
Especially when little stinkers are roaming the swamps.
No doubt the lab was thick with the stench of frying meat anywhere.
And then Swamp Thing turns into a mountain.
The peak reshaped itself, the contours of the trees forming the lines of the Swamp Thing's face. From deep within the mountain were twin glowing red sockets glaring down at the ants that had presumed to take Abby from him. Boulders and rocks fell away as the mountaintop sculpted itself, creating an avalanche, and within moments it was completed. He's pretty fucking possessive for someone who's had like one date with this woman, basically.
One kiss.
Jeez, dude. Chill out, man. Bye, Philippe. But yeah, this is David's nod to the way Swamp Thing deals with the colony of underwater vampires in the Alan Moore run. He says
underwater vampires. Comics aren't for kids anymore.
He says he completely changed the ending, directly lifting the climax from the Moore two-parter with the town of vampires, wherein Swamp Thing basically becomes a mountain. So yeah, that story, Swamp Thing's captured. He's held helplessly by a colony of lake-dwelling underwater vampires. They force him to watch all his weird post-sex business. Their vampire queen has laid a bunch of eggs and they turn into vampire fish. The alpha of that eats him. He accesses the green. He becomes one with the land. He adjusts the terrain so the water within the lake begins flowing again. The vampires can't survive running water and they get shredded into skeletons. Hold Alan Moore, laugh a minute.
What if he was like, I got to return to the green, and then he was just like on Seth Green's couch?
Or Al Green. It's probably more appropriate at the time. Seth Green probably was about 6 years old.
That wouldn't stop him.
Well, it was a ginger.
Yeah.
Maybe that little kid is Seth Green before a drastic weight loss.
Yeah.
Like Jerry O'Donnell from the Stands.
Yeah.
Jerry, is that his name?
Jerry O'Connell.
O'Connell, yeah.
Yeah.
I knew I was wrong.
The avalanche that he creates when he's a mountain destroys the manor. He turns back into a thing. What kind of thing, you're wondering?
Sweet old thing.
Swamp thing. Cradles Abby and cries on her, and of course the tears bring her back to life. She saw Alec looking down at her. He seemed nervous, concerned, until she smiled up at him, and then he returned it. "Hey, Alec," she whispered gently. "Is that a tuber in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?"
Was that really the line?
That is really the line.
I fucking hate it. So
Yeah,
much.
it's awful.
Did she say that in Groucho Marx's voice as well?
Yeah,
Is that
probably.
a tuber in your pocket?
Probably.
In the movie, he heals her because why not be somehow able to heal humans? Because he did it in the first film, even though that's not in his powers yet. Except he's, good with plants, not with fucking humans. And then he warns her that there may be side effects. And then the camera pans down and you see that there is a fucking flower growing out of her foot, which is dumb.
Better than a foot growing out of a flower.
Yeah, that could be disturbing.
Oh, this thing has a kick.
That was bad.
Yeah, so she Abby, Swamp Thing, Tom Selleck, and Groucho Marx.
She's got a type.
It's definitely
She definitely has a type.
a similar look to those three.
But one of her would-be rapists had a moustache as well. She wasn't feeling that.
Well, she you don't know she wasn't feeling that. She was pretty, she was kind of flirting, really. I'm not saying she was asking for it, I'm just saying she had lots of jokes.
She was asking for it.
No, she was asking for it. She was swamp asking for it. Oh, come touch my swamp nips. And then Omar and Daryl realised there was no film in the camera, the dumb shit stinkers.
Yeah, and then Daryl eats the camera while Omar thwanks.
Daryl eats Omar and has a thwank. Alright, read the ending. I haven't read it yet, but here we go. It's very short. "I hold her close to me, ... for nothing will ever steal her from me ... again. ... As long as I am with her, ... I shall continue to change and grow ... and learn. ... And as long as she is with me, ... she shall grow as well ... although perhaps not in the way ... she presumes. ... She chatters lovingly ... making light comments ... about my putting down roots in the community ... and raising sprouts.
Oh, this woman is the worst.
I nod thoughtfully ... and reach around ... and pluck a lovely orchid from between her shoulder blades ... and I am whole. And that's the end.
Oh, there we go. So she was growing flowers off of her body as well.
And then an ad for Clive Barker's Books of Blood.
Oh, there's a teenage favourite of mine.
Which you could get for $3.95.
Yeah, American, which is probably $20 Australian.
Volume 3 was $3.50. Probably not as substantial as some of the other ones. So there we go. That is the amazing Swamp Thing. Return of Swamp Thing.
Return thereof, yes.
I will have to ask the question, which I always do. Was the book better?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so
instance.
Peter David was true in his claims.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually go for the film, and the only reason...
Really?
The reason I'm going for the film is Daryl, the little stinker, because that is a performance of a lifetime.
Thank you, Luke.
No
I
problem.
accept my award.
Shit, he just walked in. I can't believe it.
He's still the same. It's been 20 years and he's still
I was 35 years old when I filmed that flick. I have progeria. I got a disorder. I'm Benjamin Buttons. You got any ho-hos?
Oh, he's the best.
All right.
I really kind of feel like I should seek out his back catalogue now.
Yeah, I want to watch everything he was in. So, and
I want to know if his voice changed.
I believe Omar and Daryl are in the cartoon. I believe they appear in that opening sequence. So I don't know if they're in the TV show. That's something to look up. So there's only one Amazon review. It's not that exciting, but look, I raised the question at the beginning. Was Peter David true to his word? Did he make the book better? I don't think so. You thought so. This guy says, Peter David takes a lackluster script for a cheesy movie and spins gold. What is he, like some sort of Rumpelstiltskin
Yeah.
creature? As I was reading it, I was thinking... why couldn't the filmmakers be this creative and lift some stuff?
Well, he's already
from the comics?
admitted that he's stolen it from Alan Moore, so he's not exactly being creative, more than derivative.
Peter David adds little changes to the screenplay and raises it above average. Now, what better an endorsement is above average?
There was very little reviews of this. Like, there was nothing on Goodreads. On IMDb, there was one review, and I only liked it because it said, the two goofy little kids are especially funny, and it gave it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, so he's on the same page as you.
So there we go.
I just wish you'd named Daryl by name.
Now, was there anything else that we missed?
Addition and art.
That you wanted to bring up?
Well,
any PSs, postscripts to this exciting adventure of the swamp creature known as Swamp Thing?
Yeah, I'm sure only the diehards have lasted this long. No. So the book seemed to skip one of the most amazing scenes in the movie, which was Swamp Thing busting Abby out of the Arcana jail for the first time and driving a Jeep while she stands there with a shotgun and is gunning down all these dudes in their orange jumpsuits. It's like the American fucking dream.
I can't remember if
it was pretty fucking
in there
amazing.
or not, but
so apparently that's another one of his skill sets. He can drive a Jeep.
Hopefully they were eating hot dogs. Well, they were vegetarian, so I don't know how they could ever possibly live the American dream.
Well, are they vegetarian? Does it say that in the book?
I think so. Wasn't she vegetarian?
Why would he be vegetarian? That's like cannibalism.
Well, he can't eat meat, can he?
Well, Venus flytraps and other plants do eat meat.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what he eats. Does he eat his own potatoes? Because that's fucking disgusting.
I think he does eat his own potatoes.
That'd be very efficient. But yeah, also I did like the slight nod to the Alan Moore run with the reenacting of Swampy's controversial relationship with Abby.
What if he lifts up his arms and in his armpits they're full of grapes? Sorry, go on. Yes,
so
controversial.
Plums downstairs, grapes upstairs, banana / cucumber.
That's my favourite country album. Plums downstairs, grapes upstairs. Love it. So, yes, Swampy's controversial relationship with Abby.
He left me with only the plums downstairs and the grapes upstairs. Anyway, it reminded me of the arc in the comics where Swamp Thing takes over Gotham City. So Abby gets arrested for having indecent relations with a non-human organism.
It's not illegal to have sex with a cucumber.
Apparently, because he is sentient, I guess. So I guess that answers the question that I remember now that I didn't actually ask whether they did it or not for reals. It was just a question I was thinking, or whether it was all in her head. Swamp Thing appears in Gotham. He demands that she be released, and the authorities in Gotham refuse, and he smashes infrastructure.
I heard she done have sex with a cucumber.
He attracts a whole bunch of insects with his stank, and he spars with Batman himself, but Gotham refuses to bow to terrorists. So, interestingly, it's Batman who questions whether it was right to arrest Abby in the first place, and he asks, "Perhaps Gotham should release the woman. What crime did she commit, Commissioner? Who exactly did she hurt or abuse?" I don't know, that's a good Batman.
Because Bruce Wayne's experimented with cucumbers before, I'm sure.
He knows.
He's a playboy millionaire.
Would it be cucumbers or would it be pumpkin pie? And the mayor claims, but you don't understand. The woman has had a relationship with something that isn't human. We can't make exceptions to the law. And Bat says, "No exceptions. I see. In that case, I suggest you start rounding up all the other non-human beings who may be having relationships outside their species. I mean, if you want to take this all the way, non-human doesn't end with Swamp Thing. Let me see. ... You'll possibly have to arrest Hawkman and Metamorpho. And there's also Starfire from the Titans.
All of them love to fuck.
Race evolved from cats, I believe. The Martian Manhunter, obviously, Captain Atom. And then, of course, there's what's-his-name? The one who lives in Metropolis.
I hear they got a chick out in Cleveland who's having sex with a duck."
So, that's Marvel, motherfucker. Different universe. So it was very nice to get an idea of where Batman stands on interspecies freakiness, because he is totes for it.
I think it's interesting because we know that Batman has got, huge files on all the Justice League members on their weaknesses and how to exploit those weaknesses. And it also
Was that the Tower of Babel storyline in Justice League?
Don't know. But he also obviously has very detailed files on all their sex lives. Who's banging who.
Batman knows all.
Who's banging what they like, what they don't like.
It's a real surprise that anyone is still friends with him because he does some nasty shit.
He's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, he's a total jerk.
Yeah.
And he's one of the 1%.
You know who else is a jerk? Ben Affleck. You know why? He doesn't know what a fucking Jawa is. That's a bitch.
And the circle has come.
Thought he was
been complete.
such a great director up until that point. And then I was like, are you even looking at the dailies? Are you even looking at the little screen? And like, there are a lot of names in those credits. You think one of them has seen Star Wars? Holy shit. All right, so thank you everybody for listening.
I'm just keeping quiet because Luke looks like he wants to throttle me.
Absolutely appreciate all that, of course. Really great to be back with some long episodes after a week's break. Because I've got to admit, every week now, the prospect of reading another one of these books just looms over me like this dark shadow. It's like having the worst pile of homework to do, and I just think, 160 odd episodes in, maybe it's time to maybe like go on hiatus or hang up the hat for a little bit. But then
the raccoon hat.
The raccoon hat
you're wearing right now.
But then I think, well, I don't know. I always enjoy this part. This part's good, but goddamn, the reading is wearing me down. So it was good to have
reading that you spend a couple of hours maybe.
Yeah, but it's like having a fucking assignment that you don't want to do. It's just hanging there. Anyway. So yes, thanks for listening to those. Of course, listen to the other shows. FP Cast is the general pop culture podcast. We had a big show yesterday, which we review X-Men, Eurovision, lots of other stuff, Game of Thrones, all sorts of things. You can find out everything I'm doing at fruitlesspursuits.com. So go there and you can rate reviewers on iTunes, link to our Facebook page, discuss stuff with us. Lots of fun things. We'll see you there. And yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for doing that and being such a fount of...
A little stinker.
Swamp knowledge.
Personal experience.
Yeah. Hope those,
and you're going to hate me, but I've forgotten the sting again.
I hope the swamp nips clear up. You say, I'll catch you on...
Catch you on the flip side.
Just the flips. Flip.
Let's try that again. I'm going to do it as Daryl.
You say, yes, there we go.
Get you on the flips, chimpanzee.